Cooper Kupp. At this point, is Cooper Kupp, a high end 3? Is he a 2? Is he still number one receiver? What do we think? What
I
makes
think
sense to you for a destination for Cooper Kupp?
his days as a 1 are over. I honestly, I don't think the Rams are going to be able to get a lot for Cooper Kupp, which is fine. I mean, I think if the team's going to trade for Cooper Kupp, you look at the precedent of even like the most recent. I'll just take Diggs as an example. Diggs was on his way out in Buffalo, an older player, still productive, and he went for a second. And I don't think Cooper Kupp's going for a second. So I mean, what's the most he goes for is, in my opinion, a third or a fourth, a mid a day 2 or day 3 pick.
A guy like Keenan Allen, he was a fourth.
I
We got
got
him
Keenan
for a fourth
Allen's.
round pick.
Keenan Allen's a great. I think Keenan Allen's almost a way better comparison than Diggs.
Yeah.
But what? Yeah, a third and a fourth. You said, Pat.
Yeah, he was a fourth. Was what the Bears.
Yeah, I think a fourth is right.
What did Jonathan Mingo go for?
See, that's like the same thing as like the Luka Doncic trade with Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
There, it's that's an outlier. That's what you can't base what Jerry Jones does as like the market. I think not 29 or the 31 other GMs will be like, yeah, no, we're not using that as the baseline there.
Yeah, it's just crazy how far a guy like Cooper Kupp has fallen now.
2021 season he was an absolute dog, and it's just kind of struggled with injuries, since then. Which just happens as a player ages.
And you think about how deep the position of receiver is now in the NFL. It's almost becoming as expendable as running backs, where
I think it's probably
much at the position that
a little more shelf.
A guy like Cooper Kupp.
But yeah.
Well, right, they have more shelf life, of course, but I'm saying the influx of talent and the fact that you can go in the draft and find quality receivers, throughout. We've seen that in multiple drafts now, even in drafts like this one where it maybe doesn't look quite as deep with high-end talent. There are going to be great receivers available because that's the glamour position now. That it used to be running back that kids were wanting to play, and now it's receiver and quarterback. So,
well, and I think a guy like Kupp, unfortunately, and what I think it will be, especially with, let's assume the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sign on to another year of Russell Wilson. I mean, you pair him with a guy like George Pickens, it kind of is the same-ish situation that you're coming from and going to from the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, that may be a good spot for him, just in terms of, the play calling, what they're going to ask him to be doing in terms of, a snap by snap basis. I think that makes logical sense for him. I could also see the Los Angeles Chargers, going with a guy like Ladd McConkey. You have an established quarterback that is going to be there in the future, that Harbaugh has built this offense around, an offense that is ready to win now. And I think that's what Cooper Kupp needs at this point. I mean, the guy, let's say you get 2 to 3 more years out of Cooper Kupp, the guy's going to want a Super Bowl. Those are 2 teams that are going to be all in for that. I mean, that's my take.
I don't think Cooper Kupp's dictating where he goes, though. If the Patriots want to add a receiver and they say, "Yeah, we'll give you a third rounder for Cooper Kupp," the Rams are sending him. I mean, they'd be doing Cooper a disservice probably, but they're sending him to New England.
I think the Rams are going to be wanting to pay that contract too as part of the.
Yeah, the Rams said that they want to get a deal done immediately or soon, which I honestly, I don't. They might have to, like you said, they might have to eat some salary to get that done, because if they weren't going to do so, I think it's way more likely a team that didn't get a receiver they wanted in the draft on draft day goes ahead and sauces their 4th round pick for Cooper Kupp on draft day. But if the Rams want him traded soon, then they're gonna have to eat some salary or take less of a premium.
I mean, that's the tricky thing with any of these trades that we're talking about, right? Is like we still have free agency, we still have the draft. There's so much uncertainty about which direction teams are going to go and what their rosters are going to look like. that trying to go for somebody like Cooper Kupp, it might not be in your best interest if, it doesn't make sense with the value that you could get in the draft. Like I said, I think there's going to be multiple receivers that surprise people from this draft, whether it's in the mid rounds or the late rounds. There always is, right? And so would you regret passing on those guys to get maybe a known commodity, but a guy who's
often injured commodity.
Well, here's a number to move on to the next guy that I think would satisfy, and not that I'm the biggest Commanders fan in the world, but if you can get a guy like Myles Garrett and you have the cap space, if you don't get a Cooper Kupp, you can get a guy like T. Higgins to be a number 2 to Terry McLaurin. And that's a guy who's going to be on the move this offseason as well. And they're not going to be trading him in division. They will not trade him to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I'm curious to see what you guys think on that.
He's a free agent.
He is a free agent.
T. Higgins is a free agent, so he'll be able to go wherever he pleases, right? Unless they tag him and trade him.
Unless they tag him and trade him.
Well, I don't think they can because they tagged him this year. I don't think you can tag a guy 2 years in a row and trade him. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
he's a free agent. He either signs back with Cincinnati or he's gonzo bonzo.
Yeah. I think he'll probably – T. Higgins feels like a young quarterback's best friend, so whether it's the Patriots or the Panthers or
Commanders.
I could see, depends on how Commanders want to allocate resources, because the way that roster is built, they've got a lot of veterans, but they also have some flexibility if they want to move on from those guys as well. So,
and you also have to talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They could also be in the market for bringing in a third. Outside of what was the guy that was
Godwin's a free agent.
Godwin's a free agent, but you have Jalen McMillan. You pair him with Mike Evans. There's a lot of landing spots for guys like Kupp or T. Higgins, or even we don't have to open.
I feel like I'd rather have Chris Godwin at this point than Cooper Kupp. I don't know. Maybe that's a hot take. Since obviously Godwin got hurt.
Well, I agree. I think they both have injury. They both have injury histories.
It's kind of the same. I don't know. I think I'd rather have Chris Godwin because I think he's been over the last couple of years a tad more productive.
Yeah. Both terrific run blockers.
Yeah. Also, I just think you get more separation from Chris Godwin than you do from Cooper Kupp at this point. Cooper Kupp he's
coming off a broken ankle though, so it's one of those things that
we'll see. He'll be an interesting one to watch this season for sure.
It's a crazy. Devontae is probably going to be a free agent. He's going to have so we'll see. There's a lot of guys available,
and Mike Williams going to be another guy that's going to be up as well.
Yeah,
stretch the field kind of guy.
It'd be interesting to see the market for these guys when you consider. Like I said, I keep going back to how deep the talent is across the league and in the draft when it comes to wide receivers. Is there going to be a market to pay guys like this, even when somebody like T. Higgins is definitely due for a premium, but then when you get to that next tier of guys, your Chris Godwins, your Cooper Kupps, Mike Williams,
Christian Kirk.
Yeah. Is Christian Kirk a free agent?
He's not, but I think he's
not, but yeah.
They might cut him. His contract is crazy.
Cut or traded. Probably a guy that, like, if he does get traded, it's going to be one of those, like, you swap late round picks or something like that, Or somebody sauces like a 7th or 6th. Like, same thing that happened with Mixon last year when the Bengals were going to cut him, and then the Texans just decided to give a 6 just to, like, make sure that they got him.
Yeah. Not their asking price is obviously because of the position, because of talent wise, nowhere near what the Browns would be able to ask for Myles Garrett.